Hello there guys, and welcome to Mad Dog Minis. In this video I'm going to be starting to build a modular battle board based on the inside of a Warhammer 40,000 frigate, most likely a sword class like this, although my frigate is going to be more like 30k, Warhammer 30k, because mine's going to be the transport for my Heresy era loyalist warband who are escapees from Istvan, made up of members from different legions. You know, kind of like the narrative is kind of like the Eisenstein kind of incident. That's the feel to what I'm going for. Now these things are minnows in the Warhammer universe. They're about a mile long, but they're still massive in comparison to kind of ships that we've got today. Mine's going to be called the Warspite, after the famous HMS Warspite, my all-time favourite battleship, the most decorated British battleship of World War II, survived 2 world wars, and was just scrapped at the end rather than being preserved for the nation. Sad farewell to the grand old lady. Anyway, let's get back to the build. So disclaimer alert here, if you're after perfection, you kind of need to switch the video off now because it isn't going to happen on this channel, guys. It's not going to be highly finished, high-end stuff like, Eric's Hobby Workshop, that kind of level. This is having a bit of fun, offering hopefully a little bit of inspiration, some new ideas, but it's kind of, it's low-level stuff, so just bear that in mind. So I first of all draw some gothic-y kind of shapes onto a sheet of polystyrene, which is about 1 inch thick. So that's going to be the outer wall of the spaceship. And I'm going to build several different sections off of this basic technique. Now, the gothic windows here, or indeed gun ports, as they actually are, I'm just going to cut those out with a very sharp hobby knife. Just go careful of your fingers when you're doing this and take your time, especially when you're going around that curved arch at the top, because that's quite difficult to get right. Now once we've kind of cut round that, we want to pop the windows out carefully so we're not kind of tearing the polystyrene, and we've got 3 of those to do on this section. And once they all come out, you kind of get an idea of what we're going to end up with. It starts to look a bit more like it, if you know what I mean. So after we've done that, we're going to actually glue on some shelf brackets, which are wooden brackets, coated in paint, pre-coated, pre-painted, and so they're nice and smooth. No wood grains going to kind of show really on the paint job at the end, which is nice. I'm going to then glue my watch to my wrist because it's really helpful. There you go. Sorry about that. That was a real bastard as well, because it's really tacky glue, that. But in all seriousness, we just kind of PVA the shelf bracket onto the polystyrene. I would say don't use PVA. Actually, I in later sections of the build I actually used a solvent-free, very important, solvent-free adhesive that was pumped out from like a sealant gun, and that was much better for gluing these things together. Much quicker dry time, much less messy, so highly recommend that. I'm just adding some nails here just to secure it while it dries with the PVA. So if you're using PVA, this is a good technique to kind of hold it in place. We need about 4, I think it's 4 of these on this section, so we start to get an idea of what it's going to look like, the interior. Look, there's great big structural support, so looking really good there. Now we're going to give it a coat of emulsion, so just normal wall paint, matte emulsion paint, just to protect the polystyrene from further coats of spray paint as we move on, because that will melt the plastic, the propellant. We add some cardstock on in various locations and weigh that down with PVA glue and weights on top, and that adds a bit of texture difference. The guns, I didn't manage to keep the footage of me making the guns, but they are just plumbing 40mm pipes and pipe brackets glued onto a polystyrene base and then decorated with ruminate and granny grating and some Lego. Here, these plastic things, these are from Hotel chocolate baton cases, which my wife loves these chocolates, and they have these lovely art shapes on them, so I keep a few of those and then cut them all up and then stick them at the top, and that looks really good when it's all primed, as you'll see in a minute. Here I'm thinking about playability, so we're just making some removable pieces out of ruminate, just so that miniatures can get over the top of the guns and in between them if we want a more, I don't know, like a more necromundery type kind of multi-level play style in the game, or if you want to get a sniper up there or something. So just a little bit of thought process there. You can see that we've primed the guns in this shot, and I've finished off those removable parts, so that's kind of what it's going to look like at the more at the end, and that's just nice. It just kind of adds another dimension to the build, I think, and being able to move miniatures around. So do think about things like that, because it's good to be able to use the terrain. Here we're using some Lego to add some gothic-y details. Not everyone's cup of tea, Lego on builds like this, but I love it because it's quick and easy. Here I'm just cutting some sponson mounts now out of some cardboard twiglet tubes. I'm just drawing a nice straight line around it. This technique I got from, where is it from? Gamza, I think. So thanks for that, Gamza. So drawing a nice straight line round, and then just chopping that off at the right level using a sharp hobby knife. I then have to cut 2 holes in another sheet of polystyrene, the same size, same depth, I should say, as the other sheet, because I want some consistency with the build and the walls, and then just slot that in, half and half, look, sticking out. I do take that back out to do some further modelling, but you know, you get the idea. That's where we're going with it. So I cut 2 of those out, and these are going to be more like I guess like an anti-aircraft battery, cutting some holes out at the back there, as you can see, so crew access. And here it's some engines off a Storm Talon, some spare bits I had lying around. Just going to glue some kind of plastic tubing in the front of those, and just adds a bit of nice detail at the back of the cannon, I think. And then I missed some of the footage here, but that all gets kind of glued together on the inside, look, using some MDF cogs and a bit of a dowel and some ruminate at the back. And I do put a little bit of granny grating inside for extra texture, and I give those a good old spray with some bolt gun metal as well, or whatever it's called, lead belcher, isn't it, or whatever, I don't know. Anyway, you can see here it's all getting primed, and I'm adding these things on as well. These are cable tie kind of attachments. You can see these things from Wilco, look, a quid gets you about 20 of them, and they just stick on by themselves and add a nice little bit of detail. So I re-prime over the top once I've done that, and a little bit of a rough dry brush over the top. I will probably come back with a better paint job at a later time, but I really want to get the main bits done on this, so I'm just kind of going for simple at the moment, but just bear with me on that. We'll probably add some more details later on in the whole process. Going to be across multiple videos, this. So here you can see the battery of guns here, 3 guns. Like I said, this would be a minor battery on a starship this size that you can't really, you couldn't really model a proper sized one to scale, because it could take up your whole living room at one of the cannons really. But this would be a tertiary battery. And then moving on, you can see the sponsons here, look, they don't turn. I thought about making them be able to turn, but that just ended up being too difficult. I tidied up around the edges, look, with some EPVC cut in strips, and that kind of tidied the whole thing up. And this is going to be a hangar entrance here as well. That was an easy build. You can see that the arches at the top really add a sense of scale, I think. So it's all coming together, and I will actually probably put a video up on how I make the baseboards as well, because I think that's quite interesting, and it's just a short video on that, so you don't get too bored, if you know what I mean. Here, look, the kind of those parts putting in for playability, and I'm just going to show you the other side. Although this side isn't as important, I don't mind the polystyrene texture. I think it makes it look nice and ancient and old, so I'm happy with that, because the starships would be very old. I've got to touch up some paint here and there, as you can see the red coming through. But look, thanks for joining me. Really hope you're enjoying this process, because I really am. If you liked it, please remember to like and share, because it really does help the channel to grow. And if you're not already subscribed, consider giving me a sub. So thanks ever so much, guys. Cheers.